Hello and welcome to the AI Forecast. I'm your host, Paul Muller. Well, Cloudera's Women Leaders in Technology initiative turns 1 this year. And as the executive sponsor of Women Leaders in IT and the driving force behind the program, there's no better person to talk to about the initiative's first year than Cloudera's Chief Marketing Officer, Mary Wells. Join me as Mary shares lessons from her own career and highlights of the impact of mentorship, allyship, and visibility in advancing women in tech. We'll also take a look at the opportunities and challenges AI introduces to CMOs everywhere. With that, welcome to the podcast, Mary.
Thank you, Paul. So much fun to be here already.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we'll be able to keep in this post-show edits here. We're going to have to see what the team allow us to keep. I'm going to start with...
Yeah, because we've known each other for decades.
We have known each other for a very long time, so we can go back. I'm going to ask a couple of questions to kick us off. We kind of limber up with the fast four.
Okay,
Get to know you through a personal lens. You ready to play the game?
Let's go.
First question. I have my own point of view on this one, as we spoke about yesterday. What would people who know you best say is your superpower? It can be family, friends, work colleagues.
Yep. That I'm a likable badass who gets stuff done. But I say that, but truly I'm resilient, I'm adaptable, and most importantly, I think I'm compassionate and kind because I have very, very high expectations. I move fast, but I pause and I just make sure that everybody feels valued and I care. And I think that, kindness is underrated, and I don't think kindness is a weakness. I think having a high emotional intelligence just helps you keep your finger on the pulse with people. And my team's my number one priority, then it's marketing. So I know that was a long answer, but... No,
I think it comes through, having known you for a while, in the fact that so many of your team members have long careers with you as well, in spite of the fact that you are, I would say, you have extremely high standards, which is what I think is your personal.
But you have to come at it with a services leadership mindset as well. I never ask my team to do something that I wouldn't do myself, and I lead the way I want to be led. And so, I love catching people doing something good, right? And I want to focus on that, and I think my team knows I'm here to enable them, and I'll do anything I can to help them have a great career, and be their personal best when they're on my team.
I love that phrase, catch people doing something good. Doesn't happen enough.
Yeah.
We talk about technology on the show a lot. Just curious, what do you think the most impactful technology of all time is?
So let me start just 100 years ago or so. When we discovered steam could power a locomotive, right? All of a sudden you now have this expansion and, exploration that could be done. And then, kind of in our lifetime, we had, actually with the locomotive, you also had electricity. I think that was important as well. And in our lifetime, you had .com. You had airplanes, cars, right, in the past 100-ish years or so. And what's emerging, obviously, is AI. And on the transportation theme, the AI-enabled transportation, which I think
Where do you sit on that? Because I personally find it scary to think.
I think it's
I watch my Roomba bump around and I get a bit worried that my Waymo is going to do the same thing.
Love my Roomba. No, I think it's creepy cool. And when you have these tectonic plate shifts of technology, and when they're game-changing, which means they change the way you work and live. And so I think it's cool, and you have to embrace it. You have to have that adaptability and flexibility because it's not going away. Just like everybody was afraid of the internet when it first came out. Oh, I'm not putting my credit card out there. I'm like, well, yeah, you are. And it's second nature. So I think that I'm a Boston driver too, so it would probably be good for me to have some robot drive me around. But just because you're afraid, do it afraid and give it a shot.
I love it. Yeah. Because you introduced the topic of change management. So let's park that for now because I want to get back to that later because it's a big part of what I think you do. AI. We talk about AI on the show a lot as well.
Yeah.
It's always about what can it do for business. What would you like to see AI do for you personally?
Personally, I think you always have to start with the greater good as well. So when I've been thinking about AI, I actually think about things like healthcare. And maybe that is personal. Like how do I prevent disease? How do I cure disease and keeping people healthy? I also think about it in terms of, well, personally, I love my Roombas. You brought those up. I love the fact that because I have dogs, that they can mop and vacuum my whole entire house, and I can be productive doing other things. I also love that I can grocery shop, over the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean, and my groceries will be there by the time I arrive home. And I also think, again, on that spirit of the greater good, we have to take care of planet Earth and climate. I feel like, the renewable energies, feeding the hungry, I think that we have to really, everybody has that responsibility to take care of that. And I think AI can be a game changer for us in those areas.
It says a lot about you. You keep going back to the planet and the greater good rather than worrying about you. But
no, but that does impact me then ultimately. So I guess it's selfish. Yeah,
it is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
I think, it's interesting. You always start with the bigger picture in mind. It just says a lot about you, in my opinion. You and I work with data every day. Sometimes we've actually discussed the same data. We've been looking at market data.
Yep.
What are some of the sort of either best practices or tips, tricks that you've developed over your last, couple of decades as a CMO that have helped you work better with data?
Well, data is key, and data has actually given CMOs a seat at the table. I now make data-driven decisions. I actually, as a CMO, I tap my inner CIO with the technology stack I have of analytics and reporting. And it really, marketing's not the arts and crafts department anymore. And data has really given us that proverbial seat at the table. And you have to be, the data has to be good, clean, quality data. You have to trust the data because we can all get reports that are crap, and you don't want to do that. And it also helps with collaboration on a team. So, and just, the sharing of data and trusting the data, not analyzing just for the sake of analyzing, but knowing what to analyze. So I think data is key, and you have to create and embrace a data-driven culture. Well,
let's talk a bit. I've introduced the idea of your career as a CMO into evidence now, so let's maybe prosecute that a little. You without revealing anything about your age, you may not want to. Let's talk a bit about your career history.
I'm happy to. So many people are afraid of that question. I'm actually proud. I've got a 3-decade-long plus career, and there's nothing to be ashamed about that. Yeah. It's a privilege denied to many, actually.
So true. So tell us a bit about your background, because you're a tech marketer.
Yeah. I actually, way back, I had a double degree in school. So I majored in marketing and organizational behavior. And I actually started off my career in HR, but on the organizational behavior side. And I quickly moved, and I was at Sybase at the time. And I moved into field marketing because that was just a little bit, but I never lost that because I have a Maryism, B2E marketing. I have always got to make sure that the company, business to employee, you were looking at me like you didn't know what that meant. So, and just making sure that the company can rally around my campaigns or the brand, et cetera, in addition to the B2B, B2C, et cetera. So kind of going back to that game-changing stuff, I feel like I've had an amazing career, very, very much privileged and so thankful for the opportunities I've had, because I was at Sybase back in the early 90s when client server was cutting edge. And again, cutting edge changes the way you work and live. We didn't need these, nobody could put a mainframe in their house, right? And then 10 years later, I was part of a company called Broadvision where .com and internet came out. So again, creepy cool, changes the way we work and live. And then I had a stint at BEA, which was cool. I'm not a super techie CMO, but what I loved at BEA, was this notion of the developers and them being a very important community in tech, in addition to the business leaders. And then I was CMO at, again, creepy cool companies that did Internet of Things, machine learning, that kind of stuff. And then I went to HP Software, where you and I met. And I didn't go there for the game-changing technology, because apps, ops, and DevOps, with all due respect, are only so interesting to me. I actually went there to hone my business acumen, have the chance to work with a CEO with the caliber of like a Meg Whitman, just get that business acumen, a highly, highly matrixed organization, over 300,000 employees. So, and that was just amazing. But then at HP Software, as you remember, we started acquiring companies with the creepy cool, game-changing technology and security and big data, et cetera. So I take you down that memory lane just because I feel like I know market trends because I've lived them and they're palpable. And those all pale in comparison to what I feel right now at Cloudera, with where we are in the market opportunity and what we do.
You're not the first person to say this. I was talking to somebody who's got a similar kind of longevity in career as you and I. And we were both remarking on the fact that this feels different.
It's moving faster.
Really, really different. Not different to the point where you get a little bit, to your point about creepy cool.
Yeah, it's palpable.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's moving faster and faster. I think we have generations below us, the millennials, the Gen Zs, they only know technology. Yeah. So it moves really fast. And we've just changed the game. Again, 200 years ago it was about steam. Now look at us, right? Yeah, right. So it's just, I think we know that the potential is just, we can't even comprehend it, candidly.
We talked about WLIT, or Women Leaders in Technology, to open up. And I want to just maybe spend a bit of time on that.
I'd love to.
Because it's a year now, I think, since the program was kicked off at Cloudera. It's been a point of passion for you for some time. Do you want to talk a bit about why?
It started off actually at HP Software. The very first one, I think, in the industry was with Meg Whitman, and I had the privilege of working on that program. And this trajectory and journey of, again, kind of 3 eras of WLIT, that very first session, truly, women came out of it crying and just like so relieved that they found another person like them. And I have had an amazing career that I've always felt very supported. So I never felt like I wasn't part of a team or, the good old boys club. I personally have not experienced that. But I realized right then and there, that was not the norm. Some of these women, staunch, banking companies, literally there were no women on the floor, let alone in a community. So that was a real eye-opener for me. And then I went to another company, I won't name which company, and my team, it was really important for my team to do it. And I thought, I'm not so sure this company's ready for a WLIT just yet, but okay, it's important to my team, so I'm gonna do it. And I remember being in a room that had a big, huge boardroom type of table. There were 19 of us, 18 of whom happened to be male. One of them actually said, why do we need this program? These were all my peers as well. And it was so wonderful because another peer, obviously another man in the room, said, just take a look around this table. That's why we need this. But that was more important that he said that than me, I felt, because so this notion of allyship just never lost me from that moment on. I'm like, I don't need to, I was just given street cred. This is why it's important. And so now fast forward, the conversations are now around thought leadership, business, agentic AI, governance, and how to run a company. And it's just how far and fast we've come. It's wonderful to see. So I think that's why it's important to me, because it's important to other people too. And again, I see the spike up and to the right, as they say. It's just been a wonderful journey to watch firsthand.
Do you foresee a day that we will say, okay, mission accomplished, job done, we don't need to be spending so much time focusing on this? Or do you think it's an evergreen? I don't know whether the word problem feels like the wrong word to use, but you understand what I'm trying to communicate.
I do. Yeah. Yes, I do think we'll reach a point where we won't need it, but I think we're already changing that here at Cloudera, because I lead it. All are welcome. I want the allies. I want any gender in that room, right? So, because there's power, as evident in that boardroom conversation I mentioned. I'm already doing it now. So my team will hand me. I have a press release going out about WLIT at this conference. I redlined it. I said, stop saying the word female in there. I'm an executive who happens to be female, so you don't even need to write that. And I'm using words like gender. Culturally, I think that there are probably women in the world who don't feel empowered still. And so it will continue going until we solve that as well. But there are a lot of cultural differences, EMEA, Middle East, et cetera. So how can we help that community have more allyship? But I've already seen it started here at Cloudera as well.
Yeah. Have you noticed a change in the types of conversations that you're having in the WLIT forums, or has it been sort of consistent themes over the last few years?
Yeah, completely. Like I said, that journey, it started off just crying, like, oh my gosh, nobody sees me. And then, that kind of second era, the conversations were always about imposter syndrome. And I'm like, men have imposter syndrome too. So like, I'm tired of talking about it. How do you get a seat at the table? I like, make one, be the first at a meeting. So, that's how I got my seat way back when. I'm always early because I always had that seat. And so now the conversations, like we just got back from New York. It was a brilliant conversation and had nothing to do with being female. It had to do about, agentic AI, thought leadership, governance, representing minorities, in AI. How do we do that, whether it's an emoji or an avatar or what have you? So we're having real business conversations. So.
That's awesome. I mean, I can imagine, because one of the topics we have talked about on the show before is the issue of data bias, and that, it's the old adage of garbage in, garbage out. If you feed and train a model on biased data, you're going to get a biased model, right?
100%.
You're going to get a biased AI. Do you think that forums like Women Leader in Technology does invite that idea of, or maybe is more aware of the fact that AI could go horribly wrong if we don't pay attention to underrepresented voices?
Diversity is not a polarizing word for me, and you need those diverse voices in AI, right? And I think it's only going to enhance it. It's really interesting because this panel in New York that I was talking about, it was just probably one of the best customer panels I've ever seen. And we had, and I remember telling the team in Sao Paulo, Brazil, they wanted to do a WLIT there, but they wanted to do it main stage. And I said, no, they can't call it, you still need to have that customer panel on main stage, but that's just a panel of customers who happen to be female. Don't call it a WLIT. That is, you see the difference?
I do.
And so that's how I felt about it. So I think we're having different conversations, and the diversity in voice is what makes us better.
I've got a question for that I'm going to ask on behalf of the men listening to this. Is what do you say to a man who is looking at a forum like Women Leaders in Technology and thinking it's excluding me, I won't be welcome, and that they may not know how to engage in a forum like that? How would you respond to that?
Oh yeah, all are welcome, and that's how we've always designed ours. All are welcome. And
you get male participation at the moment?
100% we do.
That's awesome.
Yes, and in that one company that shall remain nameless, that was where I first started with the all are welcome. And hey, you have a mother, you have a sister, cousin, female friends, do it for them. And now the engagement is phenomenal.
That's awesome.
And the men on my team are super supportive of it. And I don't think that I don't tell anybody that they have to do it. And they're participating in the Q&As. So, awesome. Yeah, I think you have to lead with that. All are welcome.
Let's shift gears a little bit to marketing, because I'm curious about. To your point, one of the single greatest changes that's happened to industry is AI, but specifically marketing seems to be right at the pointy tip of that spear. I mean, I've got so many questions. Expectations seem to be like, you remember when we introduced the .com era and we introduced things like cookies and so forth, and the board were looking at the CMO going, well, we can slash our marketing budgets now because we can pinpoint our customer for cents on the dollar. Do you remember the expectations?
I do.
Why isn't marketing perfect? I get the feeling that's just raised the table stakes again. That is there an expectation that CMOs now need to be omniscient because of AI, and simultaneously you've got this organizational change management problem of all of your staff looking at this technology going, should I be threatened by it? How do I apply it to my job? So CMO and AI, discuss, Mary.
Do it afraid, right?
Do it afraid.
Yeah, at least try. But obviously, ethics, governance, all of that is table stakes, right? No, it is. It's going to help the productivity. Obviously, translations used to cost a lot of money and take a long time to do. I can translate a presentation in 2 minutes now with Synthesia. AI tools that we have, generating content, whether it's a blog, a press release, et cetera. However, you will always need a human element and component to it, I believe. So, for instance, I've had press releases where I'm quoted or blogs, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. You have to make it more Mary-ish. And so it will need that human component and lens, if you will. The other question I always get is, oh my gosh, AI is going to take away everybody's jobs. And what I say is, no, somebody who knows AI better than you is going to take away your job. Somebody who knows how to work, Gemini and notebooks and, all of the tools out there, I think it's going to make us better, candidly.
So somebody who did study, organizational dynamics and so forth, how do you look at the organizational change management problem? Because I can imagine there are some people who are just terrified by this stuff.
You have to over-communicate and be transparent and consistency, right? And just have those guardrails. So, and as transparent as you can be. And, trust and loyalty are top values of mine as well. And the team knows I will tell you everything I can, but if I can't, they trust me that I will when I can. And so that doesn't happen day one. You just have to walk the talk, so to speak. So
as you talk to your peers around industry from a CMO standpoint, what are the sort of highlights or sort of thematic topics that keep coming up for you?
AI, presentations. But I always try to tell CMOs, again, tapping your inner CIO or operational excellence is mandatory in marketing. And, I know a lot of people want to be creative, but, budgets, organizational structure is foundational. And without that, you can't do AI or be creative. So you really have to have those goals. And I think in terms of annual, quarterly, weekly, daily, hourly goals, and just chunk it out. What's the right next step? Yeah. And don't have the vision and then come back. And what should I do next? And be curious, learn. I look to my team. I always look at the younger people on my team. What's your favorite app? I just want to make sure I'm relevant. You got to be, but and be curious. You've got to. This is a learning opportunity for all of us. And at my age, you can reinvent your career with AI. We were kidding before. I'm like, I can now code because the number one coding language today is English. So I remember back in the day, 10, go to 20, 30, run, right? So it's a game changer. And so don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. because the only constant in life, personally, professionally, and socially, is change. And so you got to embrace it.
If people are listening and want to learn more about your work, what you're doing, and maybe women leaders in IT, where can they go?
Oh, that'd be great. So please go to cloudera.com. Find me on the website. Please LinkedIn with me. I love building out my community. And from there, you can also find the WLIT LinkedIn user group. So we'd love to, all are welcome.
It's great. Yeah. It's the perfect tagline.
Yeah.
It has been amazing catching up with you. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, such a pleasure.
Awesome.
Such a pleasure.
That's brilliant.
One of my favorite.
Thank you. Well, with that, thank you, Mary. If you've got any questions or comments, drop them into the comment section in the podcast app, or you can hit us up on LinkedIn using the handle @Cloudera. We'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, we've got a great array of guests lined up. So if you like what you've heard today, make sure to like, share, and subscribe with everyone you know. With that, we'll see you all next week.